Hello and welcome, viewers, to my personal video diary. My name is Bill Gates. If you are not already familiar with who I am, I will tell you a little bit about myself. I am an American business magnate, investor, programmer, inventor, and philanthropist. I am best known by the general public for two reasons. Number one being that I have held positions of CEO and Chief Software Architect, as well as being the current chairman at Microsoft. I am one of the best known entrepreneurs of the personal computer revolution throughout the globe. The second reason why you might have heard of me before is probably because of my rankings in the Forbes list of the world's wealthiest people in the world. I am currently ranked number 2 in the world in billionaires, while I have held the number 1 position in the USA for many consecutive years. I am also ranked by Forbes number 4 of the world's most powerful people. And finally, Forbes' ranking system of the top 400 entrepreneurs of the world has me ranked at number 1. As of March this year, my net worth clocks in at $72 billion. In this video diary, I am going to speak to you a little bit about how Founding Brothers by Joseph Ellis has impacted my life. I will start my diary off with my analysis of Chapter 1, The Duel. Joseph Ellis starts out Founding Brothers with this chapter being the only one not placed in chronological order, basically because he wanted to catch the reader's attention. But while doing just that with an exciting physical story, Ellis also introduces the main themes of his book, which happen to be the importance of compromise, the centrality of the specific relationships in their early union, and the strict expectations that these founding brothers had for one another. The confrontation between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr in this first chapter is a great representation of the fear of breakdown that the Founding Brothers had. The anxiety felt by both Hamilton and Burr was fueled by their fear of a civil war and a breakdown of the federal government. Ellis's depiction of the conflict between Hamilton and Burr reflected extremely high stakes of leadership. After reading Founding Brothers, I was inspired to continue my level of leadership because I know that it pays off in the end, thanks to Founding Brothers. Now I will speak to you about how I feel about Chapter 2, The Dinner. Joseph Ellis focuses mainly on the theme of the importance of compromise in his second chapter. Through Thomas Jefferson's ability to act in a professional manner by organizing a private dinner with efforts of making a compromise between the conflicting ideas, I've learned of just how crucial it is to have the ability to come to an agreement with opposing ideas. If it weren't for Jefferson's effort to bring James Madison and Alexander Hamilton together to make an agreement, the state of the nation during the time period may have been drastically different. If the states could not come to an agreement on where the nation's capital were to be, most states would not waste time with the Union and would have easily seceded away from the Union. Jefferson was well aware of this and took the initiative to bring together representatives from both the North and the South to a private dinner to save the state of the country. We can learn valuable lessons from Jefferson's chivalrous action. For example, the importance of compromise. Even in the 21st century, the ability to compromise is crucial in order to make sure everybody is in agreement and gets along. Without the ability to compromise, I'm not sure my company, Microsoft, would have been as successful as it is today. So I thank Joseph Ellis for including this chapter in his book because of the valuable lessons of compromise that it teaches readers like me. In Chapter 3, The Silence, Joseph Ellis tells a story in which the members of Congress got together shortly after Jefferson's private dinner to discuss the issue of slavery in the Union. This chapter, just like the second, displays the theme of the ability to compromise, as well as the theme of the power of Congress. The author presented Congress as unable to act in any notable way in either direction on the debate of slavery. This chapter was a true description of the weak state of Congress during the time period. It failed to present a compromise or even to acknowledge the fact that compromise was impossible at that period in time. This chapter also marked the first time in American history in which a debate could result in such heated public discussion, and it put stress on the State of the Union. Through reading this chapter, I, just like any other reader, will realize how important it is to be aware of what is going on in the government at any point in time. The working class of the 18th century was definitely involved in the debate on slavery, and I believe that the people of the 21st century should follow in their footsteps by learning everything we can about the acts of Congress. Now, I will speak to you about my interpretation of Chapter 4, The Farewell. The story of President George Washington's resignation of the presidency brings forth a new prominent theme that also relates to my life, such as leadership, posterity, and legacy. Before there was ever even a nation, George Washington was a symbol for national unity. The whole country looked up to Washington to make decisions in the best interest of the people. Washington considered posterity for the public's sake as well as his own. He was not worried about the controversial events that occurred during his term. He just wanted to resign from the presidency on a good note. George Washington addressed his farewell address to the people, not to the politicians, and doing so helped create the legacy in his name that still lives today. He ensured that his presidency strengthened rather than weakened the Union before he made the decision to leave office. I have found myself in a situation very similar to that of George Washington's. In January of the year 2000, I stepped down from my position as CEO of Microsoft and focused on the position of Chief Software Architect. And again in the year 2006, I stepped down from that position as well, and decided to switch to only part-time work at Microsoft. I find my own actions in my business to mirror those of George Washington's regarding his presidency. Chapter 5, The Collaborators, mainly emphasizes on just that, collaboration. Joseph Ellis describes the relationship between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson in such a way that symbolizes the broader relationship between all of the founding fathers of our nation. He also talks about how the different personalities of the founding fathers both separated and brought together the president and his cabinet. But in the end, it was the collaboration among all of the founding fathers that created the foundation for democracy. Without said collaboration and teamwork, the government would be similar to the monarchy that they had just overthrown. It was the founding fathers who ensured that the government would work as a team, just as it has for the past 2.5 centuries. If I learned anything important from reading this book, it is that the ability to communicate and work as a team is crucial for success. For example, my partnership with IBM in July of 1980 was insanely beneficial to the success of both IBM and my company, Microsoft. Decisions in our society are not meant to be made by a sole dictator, but rather by a democratic team of individuals. In this final segment of my video diary, I will speak to you about Chapter 6, The Friendship. In the final chapter of Founding Brothers, Joseph Ellis focuses mainly on the friendship between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, and particularly how it was brought back together. Ellis credits the use of letters as the tool required to bring the two men back to friendship. Ellis describes how both men find therapy in their communication through writing, and how it served as a way to resume their friendship. The use of letters in this final chapter symbolizes communication in the 21st century. The ability to communicate with one another is crucial for success, as I have learned in my experiences at Microsoft and my new charities. The way that I depicted the use of communication in the last chapter of Founding Brothers greatly strengthened the way I view communication in society, in both the past and the present. Thank you.